Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate your help here. I have a lot of material that I prepared, and I'm never going to get to all of it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have to take out the Holy Schneider, and do some clipping right from the start, which means, of course, that there might have to be a second session of this. I want to give you a heads up that next Wednesday night, we won't be meeting because it'll be the tail end of the Ohala conference. The conference, Renee likes to call it the Rabbinical Convention for Unconventional Rabbis. And so it's all Jewish renewal rabbis, rabbinic pastors, chazanim, and everyone who belongs to Ohala, which means that rabbis and others come from all across the denominational world. So we're not meeting next Wednesday night. And then the following Wednesday night, if I am correct, we are going to have our first Mosh Schmooze, which means that, I'll probably prepare something, but it's going to be an opportunity for us to get to know one another in a different way. Marlena, is that right? 2 weeks from tonight, I think we all decided. Now, you don't know, you're shaking your head, whatever you say, Reb Mark. Get to know each other in a different way than we get to on Shabbos morning and in these kinds of gatherings. So I think that'd be very nice. And the connecting committee of which Marlena is a part, they thought it would be a great idea, and I totally agree. So let us be.
Mark.
Yes.
Judy wants to know what Holy Schneider is.
Oh, the Holy Schneider. Thank you.
DLTI.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure you weren't referring to the superintendent from One Day at a Time. So.
and neither am I referring to the very first person to catch for the Washington Nationals, Brian Schneider. No, Schneider is like a shears. It's a clipping device, right? So that our beloved Rabbi Marcia Prager, in her teachings, she refers to it, especially at various times when people's divrei Torah, when their quote unquote sermons are going on too long, all right? She'll say you have to take out the Holy Schneider. Also, she'll refer to it, and this is always quite useful, when people, and you might be one of them, who begin every sentence with so, or an Deb, you're laughing. This sound familiar, right? So take out the Holy Schneider and clip it, because no one wants to hear so and But also, there's lots that we want to say that doesn't need to be said all the time, right? Okay. Oh, so with that in mind, I should take my own advice. We're going to be delving into not just nigunim, but the basis for the nigun, the basis for singing a melody with or without text attached to it. Now, we usually understand a nigun as a wordless melody, but we can sing anything. When the Beatles, yai, dai, dai, yai, da, dai, dai, that's a nigun. They probably did not refer to it as that. I haven't seen the Apple Plus special yet, but maybe, I just kind of feel that they didn't refer to it as that. But anything that, if you have a piece of text that is married to a melody, just remove the text and you have a nigun. Or you can, the word nigun and mizmor, two different words, but basically they both have to do with singing and using melody to express oneself. So we're going to be looking at some amazing texts tonight and also have an opportunity to do some singing. And for those of you who are familiar with certainly Jewish renewal teachers, but doesn't just belong to Jewish renewal teachers, who will begin a class with a nigun, right? So we're going to begin our class, first of all, with a bracha, as we usually do. The bracha for Torah study, la'asok b'divrei Torah. So let's all say together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, source of all life, who instructs us to engage in wrestling with sacred text. So, as I said that I had a kavanah. The kavein is an intention or an aim. It's what you do when you draw back your arrow and you point it towards the target. And that's what we seek to do with our prayers as well. And Niggun with intention. So let's do a little bit addition. A Niggun plus intention equals a prayer. Niggun plus intention equals prayer. So I want to ask a question that's not a rhetorical question. Why do so many classes, any learning opportunity, begin with a Niggun? And if you have a thought about that, an insight, raise your hand. Either there's 15 of us, so I can see everybody. But if you want to raise your hand virtually or in your room, please. What's your thought about that, Mary Rita?
Nigguns help to settle me and ground me and focus me. There's just something about them. They are prayer for me, but they really ground my body.
And the word ground is a beautiful, beautiful word to use. If we understand divinity as the ground of all being, right? And the same way that we would ground an electronic device, so that we don't get shocked by it, right? A Niggun might serve in the same way, to ground us, to pull us back to presence. Anybody else? Deborah and then Marlena.
I'll let Marlena go first.
Okay. You have to unmute.
Yeah. You had just used the word presence, and I was going to say it captivates me. It sort of brings me in because it doesn't have the words, but you're paying attention to something beautiful. I just discovered Niggun a few months ago. I started listening to Hadar, and I think it's that sense of something beautiful's happening, and it takes you in.
Beautiful. You used a word. Now I'm not recalling, but it had to do with enchantment.
Yeah, it was captivated.
You said captivated. So Reb Zalma, of blessed memory, spoke a lot using the word enchantment, meaning that he would say that our prayers need to be infused with enchantment. Without going in length into what he meant, I think what you're talking about, Marlena, is being in that place of enchantment where something, let's call it magic, but we can also call it something eternal, something present, something in Moachim de Gadlut, in spacious mind, allows us to just be so expansive that it's funny. We're so expansive that we're here. We're home. Deborah, go ahead.
So I think another purpose of the Niggun, or another result of the Niggun, is that it brings the people together. The people who are in the room, they're all, or whatever type of room it is, they're all able to follow a Niggun because there are no words, and they're all doing the same thing. And so it unifies the group. Absolutely. Beautiful. Keep everything you've said in mind, because the Hasidic masters that we're going to be drawing from saying the same things that you're saying. Stephen, one last one. Oh, and then Meira. I don't want to miss you. I saw your hand up. Go ahead, Stephen.
I always thought that it was done to get the congregation's mind off of anything but the prayer that we were getting ready to roll into, and the spirit of the service. And at least that's the timing of them when I was in different synagogues that were Orthodox or Chabad, where I was first exposed to a Niggun.
Beautiful. So if I can reword what you said, the Niggun serves as the Holy Schneider. The Niggun itself cuts away at the extraneous and brings everybody together. Everything everybody said. Okay, Meira, did you want to add something? And then we'll move on.
I just see it as a bridge from the ordinary into the sacred.
Ooh, oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. You just gave me goosebumps. It's a bridge. It's a portal. It is, it's a way to ride the surf, ride the waves, the holy surfboard. Let's sing a Niggun. We're going to be looking at, maybe in about a half hour or so, a incredible teaching from Reb Nachman of Bratzlav, the great grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, about how a Niggun is created. Some of you might have heard this text before. It always bears repeating for me, especially as a shaliach tzibur, as one who leads communities in prayer. Alrighty, so from where you are, this Niggun actually is the Niggun of Reb Nachman. I always like to encourage you to sing it as if you knew it all along. So for those of you who know it, great. If you don't know it, just ride the wave with me, right? And just start singing right away. And it's like a child would. And it'll come. Okay, we're gonna we'll sing at medium tempo. Ya ya la la ya 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 ra 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 ya ya ra 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 ya 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 la ya 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 ay 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 bye ay 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 yum bum bye yai rai yai 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 ai ai da dai 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 yai lai yai 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 lai dai 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 da dai 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 yai 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 lai yai 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 lai dai 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 yai yai la 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 ya 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 ay 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 yum bum pie ay 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 now a table banger ay 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 la 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 Elliot ay 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 bum bye ay 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 la 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 ay 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 bum bye ay 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 and then transitioning to using the same melody as a Niggun Dvekut, a melody of yearning, a melody of cleaving. Ay, 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 lay, lay, ay, ay, la, lay, day, day. Ay, 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 lay, ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 la, lay, lay, lay. Maybe put your hand over your heart. Ay, 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 ay. Yai, yai, ai, 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 dai, dai, da, nai, nai, nai. Yai, lai, ai, 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 bye, bye. Yai, ai, 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 la, nai, nai, nai. Let's sing it one more time like this, and set an intention of something that you yearn for tonight, this moment. Bring it to mind, bring it to heart. This intention will serve as the inner text that you will express through yai, lai, 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 lai. Everything you have to say can be said with the wordless melody. So take a moment to identify and name something for yourself that you yearn for right now. We sing the yearning. Yai lai, yai yai, lai lai, yai lai. Yai rai, yai yai yai, rai rai, yai yai, bye bye. Yai lai, yai yai, yai lai, yai lai. Yai lai, rai rai rai, rai rai, rai rai rai. Yai lai, yai lai, yai rai, yai bye bye. Yai rai, yai yai lai, rai rai, rai rai rai. Yai lai, yai rai, yai rai, yai rai rai. Yai rai, rai rai rai. Yai rai, la lai, rai rai. And a nice deep breath gives time to integrate, to allow the snowflakes in the snow globe to fall ever so slowly, and to notice the longing and how it sits alavavecha on your heart. Thank you. This, of course, is a spiritual practice. My friend and colleague Hannah Dressner, Rabbi Hannah Dressner, worked for a while with the Institute of Jewish Spirituality. And she was interviewed by Jonathan Slater in a podcast. And there's a transcript of it that I will share with you later. She says the following: the song of my soul can arise only when I quiet the urge to think rationally and critically. It will arise only when the still, small voice of emotional truth, which is always singing deeper within, can be heard and amplified. Letting go of language quiets the analytical side of my brain, and the liberated vocalizations serve as a medium for laying myself bare before my God. The way I read this is that the Niggun jams the left brain, right? And it opens the space for prophecy. Why else would King Shaul HaMelech, would King Saul, or Elisha Hanavi, Elisha the prophet, when they wanted to go into a state of prophecy, called for the musicians? Because only music can help us attain, only music is a unique way. It's a unique key. It can open any door. And that's a Hasidic saying about music, which we'll get to in a bit. While I was chanting, I'm reminded, if you want to hear someone chant Niggunim from that really, really holy, deep place, Google Khazan Richard Kaplan, Zichrono Livracha. Richard died within the past year. Brilliant, brilliant interpreter of Hasidus music, and a student of Reb Zalman of blessed memory. Rav Kook. Rav Kook was the first chief rabbi of then Palestine, a mystic, a universal mind. And I want to share with you a seminal teaching of Rav Kook's. I'm not sure that this would be a typical teaching to use in a class about Niggunim, but it spoke to me in the ways in which a Niggunim, any melody might work, but also how it might work in different ways, unique to yourself, and how you might expand your understanding of what you're doing when you sing. I'm about to use a new piece of technology. I hope it works. Aha, there it is. Okay. I hope I'm going to turn it off for a second because I want to make sure. Could you still hear me when I posted that up? Okay, great. Because I can't see you. I haven't quite figured out yet how to use the way that I did this with the whole screen. Okay.
You're not seeing anything.
You're not seeing anything now.
And you,
you're not seeing anything now because I'm not sharing it any longer. But I'm going to share it right now. I just wanted to make sure you can hear me while I was sharing it. And
we
you
didn't
could.
see it.
We didn't see
I
anything
didn't
either.
think you were sharing. You
Oh.
weren't seeing anything. We could hear you.
Gotcha. You don't see anything on the screen right now.
No.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Okay. Then what I'm going to do, because I do want to use this, I'm going to screen share it with you instead. So much for technology. Alrighty. There's Rav Kook. Now you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. This teaching is called the 4-part song. First, the Hebrew. Yeshu shar shirat nafsho, v'nafsho hu motzei et hakol, et malei ha-sipuk ha-ruchani v'mil o'o. There is one who sings the song of his own life, and in himself, hu motzei et hakol, he finds everything, his full spiritual satisfaction. What does he mean by this? You sing a Niggun, you go inside, you find your way, you touch the face of God, to quote Al Jarreau, and dayenu, it's enough. Please, as I continue with this teaching, if you have any questions or comments, feel free, interrupt. That is the first of the 4-part song. So he's going to share with us the different ways in which each of us might be aligned to the songs that we sing and aligned to the world in which we live in. V'yesh shehu shar shirat ha'umah. There is another who sings the song of his people. Yotzehu mitoch ha'ma'agal shel nafsho hapratit. This person leaves the circle of his own individual self. Remember that that's where the first part of the first of the 4-part song was, remaining within that sphere of one's own head and mind, one's own 4 worlds inside. But in the second one, he leaves the circle, now to the English, because he finds it without sufficient breath. Breadth, without an idealistic basis. He or she aspires toward the heights and attaches himself with a gentle love to the whole community of Israel. Together with her, meaning Israel, he sings her songs. He feels grieved in her afflictions and delights in her hopes and contemplates noble and pure thoughts about her past and her future and probes with love and wisdom her inner spiritual essence. Before I offer my 2 shekels, anybody like to offer a reflection on this, how it compares to the first teaching and what the motivation of this person is? And it might be more than a motivation. It might be something that is embedded in this person's DNA. Anybody? Just unmute yourself, because I can't see everyone if you would like to offer.
This is Elliot.
Please, El.
Yeah, I see it as essence, that it's from a conviction that every person has a song to sing, and the trick in life is to figure out what your song is and sing it, so that the person singing to one's own self, that's that person's song. The person singing a song of a larger people and community, going beyond oneself into community and for community, that's that person's song. And it's not a normative question as to whether one is good or bad.
No, that's
The
right.
trick is to find your song and sing it.
Absolutely. Find your song and sing it. And I think he's going even a little bit further, which is that this person realizes that I can't keep this to myself. It's too important, right? And the person identifies with her or his tribe, which is how I'm going to unpack Klal Yisrael, the community of Israel. Jay?
I mean, I have a question. Are these mutually exclusive? The
No.
way it's written.
Beautiful.
Is-
Beautiful. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think in the same way that we live our lives in all 4 worlds as a hologram, all of these worlds, all of these 4 parts can be like a round, 4-part round, be working simultaneously. Great question. Barb Goodman.
I'm missing the 4-part thing.
We haven't gotten to the 3rd and 4th.
Just like, so the first is the individual, the second is this community
No,
singing.
no, the first one's the individual. The second one is, excuse me. The second one remains the individual singing within and for the longings of the community. He feels grieved in her afflictions and delights in her hopes. Give me a second. And as Jay said, it's not mutually exclusive. Alrighty, there's 2. So keep that in mind, what's been pointed out, that all of these things can be working at the same time. The first one can be, I suppose, coming from a place of ego. A person who takes care of their spiritual life, I'm good, and doesn't see and separates, as opposed to Hillel's teaching, separates himself from the community. All right, so let's go on to the 3rd and 4th teaching. ויש אשר עוד תתרחב נפשו עד שיוצא ומתפשט מעל גבול ישראל, לשיר את שירת האדם. ויש אשר עוד תתרחב נפשו, one who expands, right, from this, what is, as Rob Kook is explaining, a narrower perspective, right, who reaches and reaches and expands out to more distant realms and goes beyond the boundary of Israel, Me'al Gvul Yisrael, to sing the song of man, Lashir et Shirat Adam, moving beyond the tribal, right, to the universal, to the community of men and women. Continuing in the English, his spirit extends to the wider vistas of the majesty of man generally and his noble essence. He aspires towards man's gender. Please forgive me for using the gender, but I'm just staying true to the Rav's teaching here. From this, he aspires towards man's, meaning the community of man, general goal, and looks forward towards his higher perfection. From this sort, meaning not his personally, the perfection of humanity. From this source of life, he draws the subjects of his meditation and study, his aspirations and visions. All right, so you see what's happening here. He's moving from the inner circle of oneself to the outer circle of the tribe or the land or the nation, and now to all of humanity. And now you can guess where he's going to go in the fourth part of the four-part song. ויש אשר עוד מזה למעלה ברחב יתנשא עד שמתאחד עם כל היקום כולו, על כל הבריות ועם כל העולמים. And there is one, יש אשר, who rises even higher, למעלה, higher and higher, until one unites with the entire world, but not just the people. V'kol habriot, all creatures, v'al kol ha'olamim, with all of existence. All of existence. Let's call it Gaia. And then here is, here's the kicker. Here's what you've been waiting for in bold. V'im kulam omer shira, and with all of them one sings. With all of them. With all of humanity, with all of its creatures, with everything that exists. You didn't know that's what happens when you're singing, did you? Usually I would say we sing for ourselves and we sing with each other and for each other. And then sometimes, when we're in a greater, community, singing together, the third thing. But the fourth thing, boy, oh boy, wouldn't that be lovely? Linda.
I felt a movement in it, like when you drop a pebble in the water,
Mm-hmm.
that there'd be like a nucleus and then everything radiates out.
Me too. Absolutely. Right. So you can start here and move there, or you could start from there, or you could start from here, or start from here. Okay. So the next time you sing a Niggun, it would be a nice practice to notice, to start from here perhaps, and then expand your consciousness. And somebody, before I forget who it was, maybe it was Marlena, when we were singing the Niggun, you opened up your arms, right, to embrace all. Kol ha'olamim, kol ha'briot, kol ha'adam, right? Everything. Okay. I want to leave a moment before we move on for any reflections or comments. Okay. So, yeah.
I had sorry, it's hard to see my hand raised.
That's okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Because I don't know, I was interesting because I went to Walt Whitman, which is words, but his words are about singing the body electric, singing for the country, singing for mankind, singing for nature, in that, all four worlds referencing. And so, that's just where I went. And it's, that he chose the word sing was a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah. Also, one of the lesser known Hasidic teachers. I
He had the beard. He had the beard.
Isn't that from, what's that from? I sing the body electric.
It's from Fame.
Thank you, Judy. I was looking at you.
I celebrate. Sorry.
Great. So
So I had a thought,
go ahead, Linda.
Meira.
Oh, it's Meira. Go ahead.
So I was thinking about song as vibration. Vibration has a resonance, and I'm thinking as you're going to the higher states of consciousness like that there's an alignment with the vibration, a higher vibration. I don't know what that means, but that's what came to me from this.
Well, if I may, anytime we speak, anytime we sing, we're letting out vibrations. We're creating vibrations in the air around us. And somebody walks into, even our presence has a vibration. Everybody remembers, it's good vibes and bad vibes, right? And then the Beach Boys wrote a song about it. Jay.
Yeah, I want to just share. I mean, when I was teaching my students, the first day we ever meet in class, and this was given to me by a wonderful faculty member at one of the schools of music in Boston, and I can't think of his name right now, but I have them together sing out the first syllable of their first name and hold that note together for as long as they can each individually hold on to it, because that is a unique joint sound that exists. And the thing about that vibration, that will exist forever from that point and go on and go on. Yes, ripple in still water. And it is a community. I mean, it is unique in the universe, and it is a gift to them in the world.
Thank you, Jay. As I have to ask this question: were any of you local DC people in the church with me a long time ago, when towards the beginning of a service we gathered together in a small circle and we all sang a tone and we tuned up to each other? Was anybody with me that day? Jay, does it ring a bell? But
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and I remember it because I also invited people to start harmonizing within this small circle, and so it really means, attuning to each other is exactly that.
And this was a Hindustani expert that was doing this, a Hindustani music expert, and I'll come up with his name and share
Okay,
it.
you put it in the chat when you remember. I'm taking out my holy Schneider here for a second, but I do want to share my screen with you because I'm totally realizing that this is like a 3 or 4 session class. This is what I was going to share next. This is Reb Zalman, of course, and it is a video of him singing his composition V'taher Libenu. The first few lines, V'taher Libeni li'ovtecha b'emet, cleanse or purify our hearts so we might serve you, is from liturgy. And then the second line, Mizeh Ha'ish, is from Psalms. And Leman lo niga larik v'lo neleh b'chala is a line of liturgy that is right after Tachanun in the morning service. But if you look at, just very briefly, what this is saying, because this is his yearning for song serving as the Holy Schneider, could cleanse, purify our hearts. So why do we do that? So we might serve you, li'ovtecha be'emet, to serve you at our highest madrigas, our highest rung on the ladder, in the most authentic way that we can, according to the unique selves that we are. Then it says, Mizeh ha'ish yirei Hashem. Who is the person who fears Yud Heh Vav Heh? Now remember, we continually unpack this word yirah who is in awe of, because being awestruck and being in fear of, there's a certain kind of thatness to it. They both bring us into immediate presence, right? So whoever is in awe of Yud Heh Vav Heh, this person shall be shown what path to choose. Yorenim b'darach yivchar. We've all had, right, that experience in life where you just knew. Now, using sacred text, and this is my understanding of prayer, which in Hebrew is lehitpalel, it's a reflexive verb, is to work on us, for us to look inside, to discover what was there all along, right? And when we enter into that deep kind of discernment, you shall be shown what path to choose. The answer lies in the question itself, especially if you ask the question before you enter into the Niggun, into the prayer, into the dance, into the story. I'm borrowing from all of the Hasidic, understanding of how to enter into. Why? So that we shall not do this labor in vain, that we shouldn't come up empty, nor bring forth that which causes dismay. Right? So enter with, be honest. When you enter into your prayer, ask for what you need. Be like Avraham and fetch a little bit. Because unless we do, we're not going to get what you want, or what you're looking for anyway. So the next time that we meet, perhaps I will do part 2 of this, and we'll hear Reb Zalman sing it. But I do want to make sure that I get to Reb Nachman's teaching. Alrighty, I'm scrolling through my presentation here. All right, so I was talking about Reb Zalman. Let's lean on his teaching. The great broadcast of divine indwelling beams to the human heart. Only Reb Zalman is going to be talking about broadcasting from Sinai, right? Or being, live right now, WGOD, I am the morning DJ, right? It's not just the morning, it's, it's like all the time. What Reb Zalman is inviting us into is to find the spiritual practices that work to us, that enlivens us, so that we, look what I'm doing. I'm putting my hands out while I'm talking about this, that we become receptors, right? Receivers for that which is available. The inner sanctuary, that is a hologram of the cosmic temple. Read the whole thing again. The great broadcast of divine indwelling, right? The Shekhinah, beams to the human heart, right? So it's coming in, or actually it's arising from within, however you want to look at it. And then it's reaching the heart, right? The inner sanctuary, that is a hologram of the cosmic temple, which is a receiver, all right? So the temple exists. Reb Marsha Now, I wasn't a big Star Trek person, but I believe she referred to it as, oh gosh, I knew I would lose it. Wormhole. Anybody know what she was talking about? Reb Deb, what was she? Could you unmute yourself? The wormhole? Why Reb Marsha was referring to the temple as a wormhole? For all of us non-Trekkies.
I'm sitting with my expert Trekkie here who says it takes you from one part of the universe to the other. It's a transport conduit.
There you go. There you go. So in Reb Zalman's mind, and actually this is Reb Marsha. I don't know if she was quoting Reb Zalman. I don't think he was a Trekkie for Star Trek. But anyway, he's doing exactly what you say. That the temple is serving as the conduit through which eternity interacts with us. There's a better word than interacts. But you know what I'm talking about, right? It is the conduit. There we go. The tz'inor. It is the conduit through which we have access to the divine. And as we know, no more temple, no more sacrifices, no more expressing our yearning in that way. And now we have prayer, right? Prayer replaces the sacrifices in that way. Let's go back to Reb Zalman. It therefore, meaning this ability to receive, depends on our attunement to receive the broadcast. That's what I was just saying. I believe that every spiritual discipline is set to attune us to be able to receive this broadcast with greater fidelity. There's a small taste of Reb Zalman's brilliance. He's doing the same thing that Rav Kook did, which is expanding it from a tribal, from habocher, bachar bano mikol amim, of chosenness, to every spiritual tradition. Its intent is to attune us to be able, the result is to be able to receive this broadcast with greater fidelity. I love that. So in our liturgy, we ask, and that's what we just, we didn't sing it, but v'taher libenu la'ovdecha be'emet, cleanse our hearts so we might receive the broadcast with greater fidelity. I don't think any of us would ever unpack so that we may serve you in truth as so we may receive this broadcast with greater fidelity. That's great. That's great. All righty. How a Niggun comes into being. The role of the Shatz. Shatz is a acronym for Shaliach Tzibor. So you see I have a Shin, Chip, Tzadi. That's also an acronym. Shaliach Tzibor, representative of the congregation. There came a time in my professional career that I actually, I'm going to stop sharing this for a second. I'll come back to it in this moment. Where I actually begin to prefer being called a Shaliach Tzibor, a Shatz, as opposed to a Khazan or a cantor. First of all, I'm not ordained as a cantor, and so I grew more sensitive to that. Right, but maybe more importantly for me, it was the role that I was serving in. A Shaliach Tzibor. The intention of being a Shaliach Tzibor is to serve in that way. And the history, part of the history of Cantor and Khazan, I'm afraid to say, is in some respects tainted with, the ego and those cantors and Chazanim that, were frustrated opera singers. And please forgive me, I'm not generalizing here. Certainly none of the Chazanim that I know, but certainly I know of them. In any case, a Shatz is a Shaliach Tzibor is a different kind of title.
What does that title mean?
Shaliach Tzibor, one who was sent, one who was sent by the people to represent them. So if you're a Shaliach, let's say from Israel, You're a person who has come to you represent Israel. So here
Like
you
an
represent
emissary, like
So-
an emissary.
an emissary. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a much better way to put it. So one of the most wonderful Chazanim, yeah, Deborah.
Is the Shliach Tzibor always someone who sings?
Yeah, that's a good question. Anybody know the answer to that question? Deb.
So I'm what I learned when I was a layperson and was working as a shliach tzibur, if you want to call it that, was, there were certain criteria for how you would be selected to do that. You had to be an unblemished person in the community whose moral standing was high, who was not, like living a sort of reckless life, who spoke, no lashon hara, and who had no blemishes, which is to me in these times a problem, because I have people who helped me in my community who were blind, who were who had other disabilities, and they were good people to serve as a shliach tzibur for what they were doing. So we had our shofar blower was somebody who was blind, and if you look at the strict standards of who should lead, who should be the shliach tzibur, it's a very strict sort of criteria, if you will. But I don't know that I ever learned it was limited just to music, that they had a lead. I mean, so I don't know. If you ever find out, can you let me know?
Absolutely. I'm going to make a note right here.
What does the word tzibor mean?
Congregation, community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't want to let that moment go by without saying two things, Deb, which is number one of the most wonderful shlichei tzibor, the shlichei tzibor, that's in the plural, that I have had the privilege to daven with, a woman by the name of Rhonda Weiss, who died within the past year, a member of Verbrangen, which is the oldest chavurah in existence, over 40 years old. Art Waskow was one of the original founders of it, and a number of other people. Meira Sumka, I know you're familiar with Rhonda, and just a beautiful soul. I never thought, I'm not sure if the Shulchan Aruch refers to someone who is blind as being with blemish. There is a whole section of who is worthy of serving as a shliach tzibur, and if I'm remembering correctly, most of the blemishes have to do with midot, have to do with personal characteristics than physical, any physical, I was using the word handicap, and right. Disabilities. Thank you. That's right.
Limitations.
Limitations. There you go. Which she had none. Just a miraculous. Rhonda would have in front of her an open book in the whole Siddur in Braille, and that in itself was always a joy to sit next to her or sit to watch her daven from there.
We have the same thing at Oseh Shalom and Laurel, of course. I don't know if people know John Reel, but he's very big in the Reconstructionist community. But he's been blind, and he has the whole Torah and Siddur, not the whole Torah, the whole Siddur in Braille. Does he have the Torah also, Em?
When we send him, when he is laning and we send him the chants, he does what he's laning. I don't think he has the whole Torah.
Okay, but he does. But the whole Siddur, and he leads services. He is one of our shlichei tzibur.
Beautiful.
He's absolutely wonderful, and yeah.
Great, thank you, Dan.
I thought he was the only one, so I didn't know there was somebody else who did that.
And I'm sure there. Yeah, well, there's a rabbi. I forget her name. She's a graduate of the seminary. What's her name?
Her last name is Tuckman, I think.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I get her first name.
Yeah, and I've never had the pleasure of studying with her, but I understand she's magnificent. Okay, this picture, this is Khazan Goffin, also of blessed memory. Khazan Goffin died, I think, within the past 2 years. And I had, he was the Khazan for years and years and years at Lincoln Square Synagogue in Manhattan. And he was one of those people, when you were in his presence, you just felt like it was eternity was coming through him. Now, he was a master of nusach, a master of singing, the musical motifs. And like any nigun, and I forgot to mention this before in the use of a nigun, of a wordless melody, that in order to enter into it, for instance, one of the ways we described before of going from, the song of the individual to the song of the entire world, you have to know it inside and out. You have to know it as well as your name, right? Like it has to be a mantra. So you don't have to think about what comes next, right? So when you choose something, it should be something that, of course, resonates with you. And then that you can enter into it because you know it that well that you can start playing with it, and that the intention that you set can serve. Then the nigun acts as like the wings of an eagle, like you fly with that. Deb?
So I was just thinking, as you were saying that would be what Reb Marsha would teach us, is to be inside the prayer, to be inside and to lead it from inside it, because you're so connected with it that you can connect other people with it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you bringing more of our teachers into the conversation. Yes, being inside of the prayer, being inside of the nigun. Let's go back to Khazan Goffin. And now the next slide. This is a teaching that I learned originally from my teacher, Rabbi Elliot Ginsberg. Rabbi Elliot's going to have, if I'm not mistaken, something to say at the end of the teaching. Did I include it? Maybe I had it someplace else. All righty. This, my friends, is what the person who is leading us in prayer should be and have as her or his kavanah, as his or her intention. No. That one must judge a person, l'chaf suchut, right? Favorably, right? According to the merit, to one's merit, not one's lacks, but what one characteristics that are good, with generosity. Now get this, even with a thoroughly wicked person, one must seek and find some bit of good, however small, and through it judge them favorably. L'chaf suchut. I'm your shliach tzibur. We're all in together. We're sitting in a circle. We're sitting in a sanctuary somewhere. I look around before I start singing Unatana Tokaf or Kol Nidre or whatever prayer that I really, really, really better be representing you. And I take you all in. And I look for the Tov in you. Through this, one can draw them to teshuvah, deep return. How does that happen? I'm doing the singing. You're not necessarily singing with me. How am I drawing? A little longer and there'll be no wicked person, and you will look where that one was, and she will be gone. Poof. So get this, wouldn't this be a wonderful way to live life? Not just as a shliach tzibur. Everyone we look at, we see the good. We see the good. Yes, we have to deal with those who we have problems with, but not in this situation, not in this context. We are together in a container in which we are kahal, we are a community, and I am going to embrace you, right? Meaning that through finding a bit of good in the wicked one, the Rosh, you will meditate on his place, and the wickedness will be gone. Oh, walk a mile in my shoes. right? You'll see it must be really hard being you. Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of my time, dwelling on that, because we are together. We're going to go to that indwelling place where our hearts meet. Okay. So the key to this paragraph is judging a person l'chav zechut favorably with generosity. Now, I didn't put the Hebrew in here. Know that whoever, okay. I have to stop the sharing, come back to that, because there's a part that I left out. We were talking about vibes before, right? Each of us emits a vibe unique to our own aspirations, unique to our own being, our own neshama. Each of us is a musical note because of that, because of that tone. All right. So if, as the Shilag Sibor, I look at you all, I am embracing you all, I'm judging you all favorably, I'm hearing your neshama. I'm hearing the song of your soul in that one note. And my job is to make a shalshelet, a necklace, a strand of notes. And what, of course, is a strand of notes that are gathered together from your individual notes? It's a nigun. It's a melody. Isn't that incredible? Let's go back. Know that whoever can fashion these nigunim to gather the good points found in each person, in this case, each Jew, but each human being that's in that room, even among those who sin, that person can pray before the Amud. Meaning that the Shaliach Tzibur, if you can do this, you are worthy. You are worthy. So Reb Nachman is taking this 10 steps farther from halacha, 10 steps further from what the Shulchan Aruch is telling us what makes for a good Shaliach Tzibur, into the mystical realm. For whoever prays before the Amud, that's the, you're up in front of everybody, right? Is called a Shaliach Tzibur, an emissary, thank you, someone used that word before, of the community, who must be one who can represent the whole community. It's not just about how beautiful your voice is. One who gathers together every good point found in every prayer. I love that. This is this was fashioned by Reb Elliot Ginsburg. So I love the way he separated prayer into prayer, right? The one who's praying. All the good points are contained in that emissary, and this Shaliach Tzibur, the emissary of the gathering, the one who was sent to gather, tzibur, gathering, it's all coming together, all this good. He must have this high quality by means of which all the good points are drawn to him in desire and be integrated with him. Whoever can fashion nigunim like this, it's a tzaddik, a faithful shepherd with the quality of Moshe Rabbeinu, quality of Moses, who can build a mishkan, a holy dwelling within, all right? Asuli mikdash v'shachanti betoch am. Build me a sanctuary and I will dwell within them. The Khazan, from the word choza, right? One who sees, one who envisions, one who has a vision. A Khazan is one who can fashion nigunim and build a mishkan. Okay. Coming in for a landing here, and then we'll take a moment before we end for any comments or questions or reflections. This is Reb Elliot's comments at the end of this teaching. Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, of blessed memory, teaches. And I had to add this for those of you who say, I can't sing. There's a lot of people who won't sing, right? One who sings off key is like the galbanum in the temple incense. Now, let's take a moment. What is galbanum? It's one of the spices you see at the bottom right that was gathered to be part of the ketoret, of the mixture of incense that was offered as a reach nichoach, a burnt offering. Galbanum is like a sticky substance, and it doesn't smell good. Matter of fact, it smells kind of lousy. And there's, drashot, there's explanations for why, but quickly, is so because it represents life itself. 18% of the ketoret must be of the galbanum, according to, and I looked it up today, it was a little closer to 19%. So this off ingredient, and now Rav Kalbach is referring to the person who sees her himself as, can't sing, singing off key. Shlomo said, this is essential for the power and the beauty of the whole. That you have to have that, because it's just like the galbanum. It's just like the sticky stuff. Everybody sing. That's why Pete Seeger, sing out. So Reb Shlomo says, so everyone sing out, please. And then he finishes his teaching, Belia does, by quoting Shlomo saying, the Eibeshter needs all your voices. So the ultimate, And Nachman elsewhere noted that one should find ways and places to sing, even if it is when one is alone in one's house. But one should sing. I absolutely love that teaching. And as a Shaliat Tzibor, and I suppose, we're going to have to come back with the question, is a Shaliat Tzibor only someone who sings? I have to find that out. But, extending it now to anyone who's in a position of leadership, who leads, who's any kind of leader. Wouldn't it be better for that person to see the good in everyone and to draw upon that goodness, to weave the community together so that you're working together? Linda.
I'm fairly new to all of this. So as most people, you learn the melody to things before you learn the words. So the best I could ever do was la la my way through every prayer until I started getting a handle on it. And I always felt the music before the lyric came to me, especially the Hebrew, since I don't know the language.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. Anyone else? Deb.
So I'm thinking of the four worlds, and I'm thinking of, the looking at life through the four worlds lens of renewal, which we do. And so I just wonder if music is one of, the being a Shaliach Tzibur with the music is one realm, but that there are other pathways for a good Shaliach Tzibur to gather to make a shalshelet of the contributions of each note of the community, and to bring power that way, and to be able to elevate it to a place of dveikut. Because I think otherwise, this is just my personal opinion, okay, but being a Shaliach Tzibur, and the whole concept of it becomes a hierarchical thing within the movement, looking for people to do it. And that if you can't sing, because I'm not a singer. I mean, and I'm a good rabbi, but I'm not a singer, and so when I work with Neil sings, I do the davening and the other stuff. But I think that, if you don't, in a practical sense, if there's not a team that can do that, and it is you, and it's either you and you're able to bring your offerings in a way that are a good performance, and I hate to use that word, that it's a problem in terms of the practicality of being a leader in the communities today, because we want people who can bring a lot of different elements of creating community and of reaching God. And there's more than just one pathway to do that. So that was thank you for listening, but that was my personal opinion from working in the field, from actually doing this every day.
Yeah, amen. And it raises questions for a whole other session. But thank you. Deb, Oh, wait, I just said Deb. Deb.
Well, it takes me to some questions about when in a community there are multiple leaders. I was a lay leader for a long time, and then a student, a rabbinic student leader in a community. And I think that role is to do the things you're describing as a tz'l shibur, which is not, because there is not always the same person and there's not always that continuity, that whoever is leading is supposed to be finding a way to bring everybody together, regardless of which way it is. That seems to me that should be the goal of leading a community in a particular service, in a service. I guess that should be.
Great.
And so now I'm understanding how my experience over the years felt like I was on sandpaper, because I would be in community with leaders who felt like they weren't really bringing anything together. And I didn't understand what it was that I was feeling or not feeling. This all brings it together. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, let's put that together with Reb Deb's question and answer, because they all belong in a much larger conversation about the roles in a community and successfully stepping into them, and who should be in those roles and who makes those decisions, yada, yada, yada. Jay and then Dan, and I'm being mindful of time here too.
Yeah, I want to comment on that as much, although I was in a community with 3 rabbis, a musical director, a cantor out in San Francisco, and they had parallel services. But I want to go back to what Linda was saying and something I posted earlier about music. And like Linda was saying, before you had the words, there was music. Before we as humans had words, there was music. Before children have words, there is music. And I am a word person, and when we were doing the opening Niggun, it got beyond the music to just even to the rhythm and the beat of my heart, and I started tapping myself before you were even tapping on the desk. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to probably lose it, is that after there are words, after we lose our words, we still have the music, and the music gets out of your left brain. It gets to the whole brain. And I'm saying this because after my father battling Alzheimer's for so many years, the one thing that connected was still the music.
Shamati. Dan, bring us in for landing. Then I have a quote from Reb Zalman Schachter-Shalomi, the founder of Chabad, on exactly what you just said, Jay. And then we'll sing a Niggun as a way of Chatima for the session tonight. Dan?
So yeah, just 2 things following up on what Jay was saying. The music is so important, and what Linda was saying. And that's why one of the reasons why many congregants get distressed when a new melody or a different melody is introduced, because part of what's powerful for them and connecting and singing is something that they know and something that they can feel. And if you're struggling to learn something, you're in your head too much, as opposed to just singing out. So that's hard. People try to be more creative in things, but it does stress many people that way. And that's the first point. The second point is, in my opinion, the Shaliach Tzibor is very different from a cantor. A cantor, it brings to mind a performer, whereas a Shaliach Tzibor is a leader. I didn't know that the word related to see, but he sees everybody, brings everybody together into communion. And that's a much different role than just performing, operatic voice on their own, entertaining. And like Debbie was saying, it's a much bigger job, and it has to do with kavanah and dibarti.
Shamati, and I just want to remind us to be careful. The generalizing about cantors, right? Okay, enough said.
Yeah.
So we're going to close with, first of all, thanking you all for your holy presence as always. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. But anytime, we're learning from Reb Nachman, and this was also a beautiful way to spend our time on the heels of Mark Kronish's teaching meditation this afternoon that took us through the four worlds in a very Kabbalistic way. So I'm very grateful that you joined me for this and helped me cut away the unimportant or the things that I didn't need this evening. So a quote, and then we will sing together Reb Nachman's Niggun as we sang before, and then bid adieu. If words are the pen of the heart, taught Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liad, then song is the pen of the soul. The soul's pen, however, writes in the opposite direction from the heart's. While words carry meaning downwards from God's own primal consciousness into the minds of sages and lips of the prophets to inscribe them upon human hearts, song carries the soul upwards to be absorbed within the infinite light. And ending with this. That is why nigunim or nigunim generally have no words. Words limit and define. But the nigun tears the soul beyond all bounds, beyond words. Yahirai yallai yayai yayai yallai yayai 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 bye 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 yallai yayai 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 yallai rai 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 yayai rai rai rai. Sing out yai rai yai 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 yai. Bye bye, yai rai, yai la 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 la, yai rai, yai ya la la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la la la, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. See many of you on Shabbos morning.